more minutes can we give members so that we roll?
3.
Okay, in 3 minutes we roll, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Come on. Hi, Galaxy J5. He has disappeared.
That looks like Wanyama.
That's Mr. Wanyama.
Yeah. Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Rename your device.
J5 Galaxy.
Rename it to your name.
Okay, let me try. It's like I don't have much knowledge in this. In this area.
Welcome. You are not the only one, even me.
Yes, it's like I don't know how to go about it. Muya, maybe you can help me. Muya.
Yes.
Muya, can you help me? Is how to go about it, naming my.
Let me try to rename you.
Okay.
Who is in the meeting room? Kuna watu wanangoja admitiwe.
Yes, I've admitted them.
Okay.
Okay, you're good to go. Mr. Wanyama, you're good.
Oh, sir, thank you so much.
I'm also learning.
So I can see we are 10. Do you have more people waiting?
No, we can start. They'll continue coming.
Actually, Mike, can you call Madeka?
Madeka is in, isn't he?
Oh, Madeka?
He's here. Can
Yes, I'm around.
Oh, you're around, huh? Okay.
Yes.
So we roll, huh?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Design Kenya Society. We are privileged this afternoon to be live to our members from wherever they are watching us from. We are grateful indeed because of this particular opportunity that God has given unto us, that despite the current pandemic situation you are going through, we can be able to meet as designers online and be able now to discuss matter that concerns us, to be able to discuss the agenda of design and how you can be able now to take design forward. Indeed, we've been having several online meetings just to engage our members. And this is actually one of the meetings that the committee has put in place so that we can be able to engage members even as we go through this pandemic situation. As you are aware, as Design Kenya Society is a society that brings together designers in the country. And for mainly the purpose of fostering design and the design recognition in Kenya. And it's our privilege as Design Kenya Society to be able to host this kind of a session where we think we can be able now to have our members engaged. We can be able to have constructive discussion in as far as matters pertaining to design family is concerned. And today we are honored to be discussing the topic of that regard the design bill. which is a very, very critical topic. As you know, bills are all about laws that govern a certain entity. And as you are aware, the designers in the country, we don't yet have a law that governs us, and we've been operating duocally. And this is a journey that started some time back in 2013, where a few designers came together and put together a few scripts that regard the design bill. As you are aware, decades about building design is about building the design voice in Kenya. And we thought for this particular voice to be heard vehemently, we need to have a law that governs us. And that's why the design bill is all about this particular issue. So, so that we don't take more of the time and we go deep into the matter, today's discussion is the design bill. And as you're aware, we have two bills, but for this particular meeting, we'll be handling the design bill. And as you saw from the poster that went out, we are supposed to review the bill as it is right now is a draft, which requires a lot of deliberation back and forth until eventually we arrive at a final draft that can be able now to be taken forward for the purposes of enactment as law. And so the purpose of today's meeting is actually for our members to understand what the bill is all about, why we need this particular bill at this particular time, what the bill will be able to help us in terms of sorting out our issues in as far as our practice is concerned. And so as I mentioned, it is a draft. So, and let's be open. Let's ask any question that pertains to the bill, and not just criticizing negatively, but also criticizing positively. Let's bring in elements that can be able now to make the bill vehement, the element that can be able to make the bill strong, the element that can be able to make the bill to sail through easily. And that's why being the voice of design in Kenya, we thought it was necessary for us to be able to discuss this bill on this particular platform. And thank you so much for each and every one of us who have been able to sacrifice their time to join. On behalf of Design Kenya Society, I'm welcoming you. And in case you have questions that require some clarifications, one of the ways is by chatting on the side. The other way will be able to give you an opportunity to raise your hand and ask questions directly to the person who is going actually to lead us in this particular discussion. So let's feel free. And this discussion will not end today. It's an ongoing discussion. So this is just an opportunity for us to converse. And apart from that, we'll be able even to continue this discussion further. The two bills were sent to our WhatsApp page for those of us who are on the WhatsApp page, so that you can be able to look at them before this meeting. And I hope we have done so. And so it is my privilege and pleasure to this afternoon to be bringing on board a friend of mine who I've known him for quite some time, who've been putting together the design bill. And as I mentioned to you, the journey started way back in 2013. We had a draft in 2013, you had another one in 2016, 2018, now we are in 2020. And as it is a process. It can't just be one step. It's been several steps since the journey started, and the journey is still ongoing. And that's why we talk about the Luta Continua. So this afternoon, we are privileged to have one of us who is Mr. Ken Madeka. Ken Madeka is an interior designer, a graduate of Maseno University, and is the chair ADKE. Currently works as a designer at the Ministry, State Department of Public Works, the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, and Housing. And he is here with us just to give us a snippet, because the design bill is 21 pages, just to give us a snippet or a summary of what this bill is all about. And so it is my pleasure this afternoon to welcome one of our own, Ken Madeka, to help us in trying to digest and dissect this bill that is before us, this draft bill that's before us. So Ken, if you can be able to hear me, please take on. You have between 15 and 20 minutes to take us through the bill. Then after that, we'll be able to open up the session to our members so that you can be able to ask questions. It will be a Q&A questions. This meeting runs between 2 to 4 p.m. So let's not be in a hurry, because this is a critical bill that you are discussing. So we are here for 2 hours between 2 to 4. And so Ken will be able to have 20 minutes to take us through the bill. Then the rest of the session will be about answering any questions that concern particular bill. And so without further ado, Ken, karibu.
Asante sana. Thank you all for the invitation. And indeed, the background about the issue of the design bill has been well expounded by the chair. And it is my privilege to introduce you to him as the chair as well of the technical committee that was appointed by the PS in our ministry to steer the agenda of the design bill that time in 2015. And indeed, we did a good work. That is where the issues and the discussions around the design bill started. And as we are doing this, it is not just the design bill that was happening. Other professionals were engaged in coming up with their own bills. And some of them have seen the light of the day. A case being the building surveyors bill, which President assented into in 2017. And this is one of the bills that when we were doing our design bill in 2015, 2014, thereabout, we were with them as a team. So we are really behind in terms of spearheading our bill. So I would also urge the team to really support the agenda moving forward. Design industry in Kenya is governed by quite a number of, let me use the word, policies. There are quite a number of policies that exist. So designers don't operate in vacuum to date. And the intention of the design bill is to also grow the policy framework that is existing for designers so that we enrich our profession in a manner that will be dear to everyone. One of the acts that exist for designers is called Industrial Design Act. And for your information, the Industrial Design Act, which established KIPI, is a negotiations of creatives with the globe, at a global level, and the World Intellectual Property Organization, which governs the WIPO treaty that Kenya is a signatory to, and actually ascended to this in June 1965, thereabout. And several agreements have been developed around that, which one of them is the Harare Agreement, Lusaka Agreement, Kinabaju Protocols, and others. These are some of the protocols that governs industrial and product design practice in Kenya. So I would also encourage designers to also engage further in terms of understanding the Industrial Design Act, and that by definition of the Industrial Design Act, it says that any composition of a line or color or any form of a 3D form giving special effect to a product is hereby defined as industrial property or industrial design. And for purposes of bringing attention to designers around this bill is that under the Presidential Task Force on Parastatal Reforms, the established Industrial Design Act, which established KIPI, Kenya Industrial Property Institute, recommended that that act, the Industrial Design Act, alongside 3 others, one being Kenya Corporate Board and others called the Anti-Counterfeit Agency, be brought together, and a new agency is established which governs the industrial design plus others. And for your information, Intellectual Property Office of Kenya Bill of 2020, which is under the stakeholder engagement as we speak, requires our input as designers to see how best we can further this. So that is as far as Industrial Design Act, which is of 2001, which is in force, is. We have another bill, we have another act of parliament that governs designers in a different way called Traditional Knowledge and Cultural Expressions Act of 2016. That was established in line with the Kenyan Constitution. We call it Chapter 2, Section 2, which really gives an impetus in matters of cultural expressions. And alongside that, how designers are covered is that the production of arts, the productions of drawings, prints, sculptures, designs, photography, paintings, woodwork, maps, textiles, issues of architectural models, and other forms are well expounded and covered up in this act, and thereby designers also have a room to practice legally and professionally under that act. And it is really a detailed act of parliament that I would encourage designers to also look further. There are other policies around us. One of it is that there are schemes of services for various designers in the country, which also gives direction. We also have visual brands guidelines that have been provided for by various government agencies, which also encourage designers, especially creative designers, to look at. We have proposed code of ethics for design profession in Kenya, which is at the stakeholder level. I would also encourage people to also bring on board their comments. At the preliminary level, there's also condition of engagement and scale of fees for interior designers in Kenya. This is also at the draft level, which I would also encourage designers to also engage further. And finally, for purposes of now, is to introduce you the 36-page, 36-chapter design bill, which is a discussion of the matters today. And from that, you realize that there is a lot that is already with us as designers. And it is upon us as professionals to realize that we are not challenged professionally and legal and institutionally, and also regulate in terms of regulatory framework. We are not that weak, and thereby we have all the room that pertains our own practice to ensure that we deliver professionally. In this case, the formation of the design bill seeks to provide legal, institutional, and regulatory framework on matters of design education, practice, and professional development. And in this case, this shall be administered through registration, through regulation of the design practice, and development of training programs that are addendum to the issues of the design industry. Something to note is that the bill does not cover every designer. I think you need to take home that for purposes of the bill, it covers two professions. Intentionally, it is supposed to have covered three, but it covers two because of a reason I'll give you now. That in terms of the description, designer shall mean a graphic designer or interior designer having successfully gone through the subscribed course of training, be it a diploma or a degree holder, and that the reason why we have exempted product design is that product design is equated in the bill. This is what is expounding, that product design is equated with industrial design, which has a meaning assigned to it under the Industrial Property Act, which I talked about, section 84. If you read that section, you realize that the industrial design or the product design is well covered. In line with why the two, we were guided by International Standard of Classifications of Organization of 08, which is a classification model that groups professionals in clusters. And under the cluster of 3471, under the commercial designers, there is a description of graphic designers under section 2166, interior designers in 3432, and product and garment designers under the unit 2163, and thereby under the natural classification of commercial designers, the three designers are covered. And with the exemption of the product design section, thereby the two show causes why we need to have the design bill. Another exemption of the design bill that I wish you to bring to your attention is that the act does not, or the bill does not intend to apply to employees of retail establishment in furtherance of a retail sale. So if you're a designer working in a retail establishment, then you are not bound to register under the bill. Specifically, the bill shall apply to persons working in the following institutions. One is any public entity. The law, and you are providing the services of a designer, the law shall apply. Two is if you're working as a designer in international organizations operating in Kenya, and you are providing the services of a designer. Three is that if you are working in NGO operating in Kenya, and you are providing services of a designer. 4 is in case you are working in a multinational company offering design services in Kenya, you are required to comply with the law. 5 is if you are operating in a limited company that is offering design services in Kenya. And the last one is a group of designers working in the branch office of a foreign registered company that is operating in Kenya. The 6 clusters forms the basis of the design cadre that shall be regulated under the bill. Specifically about the functions of the bill, as I earlier alluded to, one of it is to supervise and regulate the registration, certification, and the practice. Second issue is about the issue of first establishing, then improving, developing, maintaining standards of the design industry. 3 is approve institutions for training designers in Kenya. 5 is the issue of continuous professional development on matters of its establishment, approval, and credit programs that are in line with the CPDs or the continuous professional. The other element is about the issue of the registration, which is the last part I would like to take you through, is about the management of the institute. The institute is managed by a 9-member council, 4 being from the public sector and 5 from the private sector. That is a requirement as a principle of governance provided for by Mogozo Code of Governance, which is a release from State Corporations Advisory Committee, that institutions are supposed to have more of the private sector people than the government side. So the 4 public sector officers are: 1, a representative of the department or the PS representative on matters of design. The second government officer shall be persons representing interest of universities. And in this case, it's universities training courses leading to design. 3 is person from the, or a representative from the office of the AG. And the 4th one is the registrar. But the 5 people coming from the private sector includes the following. 1 is the chairperson of the institute, whom shall be chosen from 2 graphic designers from their own chapter and 2 interior designers from their own chapter. So once the 2 graphic designers and 2 interior designers have been nominated by the chapter and appointed, they will choose the chair, but they'll go back and choose someone to replace that chair who has been given. The law also provides for it's called alterations. 1, the chair being interior designer, next time being graphic designer, that kind of arrangement. So essentially that is how the management of the institute is all about. And the bill expounds further about those kind of details about management, including qualifications and disqualifications, and also gives further on issues of the registrar. The chapters. We have talked about the 2 chapters of interior design and graphic design. Basically, you will operate, or we shall operate under 2 main brackets. 1 being technician member, being someone who has a degree, a diploma, sorry for that. And after 2 years, you will move into licentiate membership. The second category is a graduate member. After 2 years, you'll move into being corporate member. Apart from the technical people, the professional people, the chapter category has an opportunity to have at least three other types of membership. One of it being honorary membership, fellow member, and a visiting member. Visiting member in this case, being a designer who's in for an assignment for a while, with an expectation that you'll not be here for long. So those are called foreign registrations. So as the case may be, you shall register under that. Take note that this shall not require certificate of practice or restrict or even prohibit a chapter member from engaging in design activity. The last part is about now, once you are a member of the chapter and you want to become a professional member, you will either become design technician, having been the bracket of the design technician member or licentiate, or if you have been a graduate member and at the chapter level you graduated to be a corporate member, you are required now to register professionally as a professional designer, upon of course meeting requisite requirements set out in the issues that comes around that. Another technical professional registration is temporary registration of designers. Remember, under the chapter, there is a slot for visiting member. Visiting member being a temporary member or a designer in this case, and having been here for a while, you are required or qualify for registration on as a temporary registered designer. And of course, the law or the bill proposes a serial process of how to register as a temporary designer in Kenya. That being the case, I think I'm done, unless we have any other issue. But something to also note is that as the classifications were ongoing, something to note is that part of the international standard classification organization's direction on classification of professions, there is also guided by approved design-related academic programs that are offered in our universities. And to bring to your attention is that we have 17 bachelor degrees leading to various design making in Kenya, out of which 8 out of 17 are around the fashion design and textile technology bracket, leaving us with around 7 or 8 specifically. And this, from these 8 programs, it's where you have professionals coming out from the industry and being managed. In this case, Bachelor of Arts and Design, Bachelor of Arts Design in Interior Design, Bachelor of Science, Graphic Design, Communication and Advertising, Bachelor of Philosophy in Technology, Printing Technology, Bachelor of Technology in Design, and Bachelor of Arts in Design. That forms the basis of the academic qualifications for persons to be registered under the bill. There is, I'll be able to handle the rest at the question level in case there's any clarification. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ken, for having taken us through that brief of the 36-page or the 36 document draft design bill. And members, I hope you've been able now to pick up something, because I presume that all of us went through the bill. So Ken was just taking us through a summary of what the bill is all about. And at this juncture, I'd like now to open it up to members who are on this particular platform. If you have any question, of course, as officials, we also prepared questions that we needed to ask Ken, but that will come at the end of this. But we want to give an opportunity to designers who are on this particular platform to bring up questions. I don't know if the questions have been written on the side chat. Ken, do you have any questions, or we take questions directly from the designers?
Hi, Malaki, you can take questions directly from the designers. They can raise their hands.
Okay, thank you. So, so let me be notified when you have questions on the chat. But for now, I'm opening this particular session is a Q&A session. Let us ask a question related to whatever Ken has briefed us, or anything you think might be of great help to the bill. Let's say if you have a suggestion, that can also be taken apart from just asking questions. So I'm opening it up. So if you have, if you want to try to ask a question, please raise your hand. I can see the screen of all of us, 16 of us here. I can see all of you. So just put on your video and mute your mic and raise your hand, and I'll be able to spot you. Who wants to go first? Any question related to the bill? You just unmute, put on your video and raise your hand. I can see you, then I'll be able to spot you. Who wants to go first? Billy Kosawa.
Hello.
Yes, Mike. Yes, Mugazia.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
My question goes direct to Ken about registration and raising of members, appraisal of members. We've talked about someone being, let's say, a graduate member, and then after 2 years, this person ends up being a corporate member. Are there standards? Because I can be a graduate, someone can be a graduate member just by paying, and then this member does not participate in, let's say, CPDs, does not participate in forums, but after 2 years, does the same person like graduate? Are there measures?
Ken?
Can I handle that?
Yes, Ken.
Yes, it is true that this is business as usual program that allows that once you register, your process of professional upward mobility is taken note. And upon graduation and enrolling as a graduate member, you shall be required to undertake continuous professional development programs as per the policies or rules that shall be developed by the chapters, which will allow you to move from one stage to another, whether being at graduate level or technician level. That's why I said one of the main principal functions of the association or the institute shall be to establish, approve, and accredit programs for CPD program. In this case, which will lead to upward mobility professionally. I hope I've answered that.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay, thank you, Gasia. Any other person raise your hand?
Hello,
Yes, Arisi.
can I go next? So I've looked at the bill. Last year when this bill came up in a group of designers that I was in, there was a concern on what happens to designers without qualifications who've been practicing for a number of years. What is their pathway? Do they have to go back to school? Thank you.
Just to address that, is that this bill, and I think I had alluded to other systems that exist in other places, and one of it being Traditional Knowledge and Cultural Expressions Act. That Act of Parliament, which is in force, really develops our creatives in a bigger way. And there's a program that, which I'm made aware of under the Ministry of Sports, Arts and Culture that really registers creatives. This being the case, that our professionals are registered through other avenues of the same government in a way. Now, the bill, that is why a chapter on rights and obligations unaffected was introduced, because you may not carry over everyone on board. This is exception of the effort under the TVETA and the Q to ensure that professionals who have, or other persons who are creatives enough and can provide evidence of the advanced skills and experience can actually register as professionals through the universities and colleges. I think our university colleagues can attest to this, is that the bill does not register everyone. The bill has an interest on every person working in the 6 areas that I've talked about. And in these 6 areas, for information, you realize there are bureaucratic process of actually you being a designer serving that process. And one of the area that you will serve, you'll be affected by the bill, is if you're serving in any public entity, be it a university, be it a college, be it a ministry, be it a parastatal, or whatever it is, all public entities. Meaning, there is a natural process in these public entities to qualify you. And I'm certain and sure that one of the procedures in these universities is academic qualifications. Equally with the other 6, being international organizations, being NGOs, being multinational companies offering design in Kenya, be it limited companies offering design in Kenya, or any form of branch office. That is one. Two, you realize that within the bracket of the fine arts which under the National Visual Artist Association has really done a lot around the promotion of creatives. And that's why I'm saying under the framework of the visual artists and creatives is well expanded by the Ministry of Arts Culture, which administers the Traditional Knowledge and Cultural Expressions Act, and specifically have Traditional Knowledge Unit established to promote creatives whom may not necessarily need to have gone through the universities or the colleges that are expounded. But the principle of the law is that academic qualifications forms the basis of regulatory establishment in Kenya. I hope I've tried to answer that.
Okay, thank you, Ken, for that. Any other question? Let's be free. Let's free up. Let's open up. A suggestion, a question, a clarification.
I have a question.
Yes, Esther.
Hi,
Hi,
Esther.
hi.
I'm a designer and I work with an international organization. It's an NGO.
Yes.
So my first question is on management. I think I had a few, but I'll start with this. On management, the cabinet secretary, it looks like the cabinet secretary has all the powers. So I don't know how this will go well with ensuring that we have the right people in the institute. Like it's the cabinet secretary who will appoint the chairperson, and also the other members of the institute are still appointed by the cabinet secretary, like from the interior design chapter, the graphic design chapter, and the product design. My question is, like, in the people who will manage the institute, how do you plan to involve our voices or our votes?
Okay.
Thank you for that, Ken. Before you answer that, another question that I've gotten from my phone related to the same is somebody is asking, so will the designers be gagged up by government, given that now the PS or the CS are the people who are going to spearhead this particular bill? So these are questions I've gotten from one of our members, and plus whatever Esther has added, please weigh in on that.
Okay, thank you. I think I need to talk about management of acts of parliament. The law, in the process of making any form of act of parliament, domiciles the functions that comes out of the act of parliament to a cabinet secretary who becomes the accounting officer in terms of implementation of any form of act of parliament. That is very clear. It is well guided by the principles of governance under the Mogozo Code. And for information, the moment you establish an entity through a public, because there are three ways of coming up with a legal entity. One of it is through the Act of Parliament. The other one is through executive order from the president. And the other one is acquisition of a legal notice number. Those three. On either case being, the powers that comes out of the product of the three is domiciled in one of the government entity, be it a ministry or whatever it is. And the accounting function of any form of a bill is domiciled by the cabinet secretary. Institutions that have been established and are not domiciled in professional institutions that have been established and are not directly responsible to cabinet secretaries are called associations. So the moment designers wish to join the club of coming up with a legal framework that is to be governed by a law in Kenya, automatically brings on board the office of a cabinet secretary. And what will be the role of the cabinet secretary? It is to formally appoint, and appointment is done by gazette notice. And gazette notices are not generated and published by any Kenyan in Kenya. Purely, it is the role of the cabinet secretary to gazette. You can actually be cross-checking this, or a delegated authority, but under the office of a cabinet secretary. Meaning that much as he has that authority, which is bestowed under the Act, it does not negate the authors of a bill or an act of parliament to canvass the process of how to arrive at who to appoint where. And that is why in our case, the 4 public officers, which may be, he has no option, he has no control over the 4 public sector, because it is clear that the representative in the government department for design. So it is almost clear who comes on board. The chief designer will automatically serve that function. The universities, the bill also provides universities of how to arrive at that one representative. There's a provision for that. The AG knows how they have done it, because they have been sitting in all the councils of professional regulatory bodies in Kenya, be it architects and engineers. So they have a system of how to appoint the relevant person to serve into it. The interest is on the 4 other designers who are coming from outside. And the 4 that are coming from outside, under the name of the chapters, allows that under section, there's a provision for it on management and governance, that the chapters shall elect, the chapter members shall elect the 2 persons that shall be forwarded to the cabinet secretary. So the cabinet secretary has no mandate of choosing who, where, because even there's a qualification of you being appointed to serve at the institute. So the 4 shall be elected by members in their own respective chapters. That being the case, thereby, I would foresee a case that interior design chapter will nominate 3. I foresee that kind of, in terms of election. I see a case graphic design chapter will elect 3 in a given order, so that if either of them is elected the chair, the 3rd is replaced, something to do with that. So the chapters will automatically forward the 2 names to the cabinet secretary. So the cabinet secretary would have no choice but to appoint the 2. Now, in terms of ganging in government happens when the law is not clear in terms of the procedures and processes that leads to nomination and appointment. And in this case, if we feel under the chapter of, under the provisions of the chapters of the institute, that we have really done best to our own interest, I would believe that the government is not intended, or rather it has no much interest in terms of the professional development of matters of design. So it is upon us as well, much as the bill has also talked about the issue of, to the extent, the powers the chapter members have in terms of electing their own representatives in the council. If we do feel there's something and anything that we need to add on to what is already existing, I think there is room for that as an amendment to the draft. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other question? Just raise your hand. Christine Sagina.
Good afternoon, members.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Mine is not really a question, because I sat in the initial committee that was discussing this. So I think I'm clear on most of these things. Maybe just an inquiry, because I tuned in a bit late. I see in other professionals, like engineering and architecture, there's normally an exam to certify members, the professionals for membership. I don't know if it's here in the bill. Will we have such a case where yes, we are professionals, we have graduated with our degrees and diplomas, but before we become members, you have to be certified for practice?
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Under the bill, there is a provision for professional registration of professional designers, and there is issuance of certificate of practice, and there is a lot that happens around that. And for you to be issued with certificate of practice, part 4 of the bill, specifically on qualifications of professional registration provides that you undergo a procedure that the council or the governing body shall determine, in which shall and is not excluding undertaking examination. The case that leads to you being registered and issued with certificate of practice is not an automatic process from a corporate member to becoming a professional member. So what I'm trying to allude is that the qualification for professional registration includes administration of, may not necessarily be an exam, but the council or the institute board shall determine within that framework. But the board, I mean, the bill provides for, let me use the word exam, but there's a checks and balance to the effect of being issued with professional registration.
Okay. That's clear. Thank you very much.
Still on that, Ken, someone is also asking, is it a bill or is it an institute or is it a council?
The bill is called Designers Registration Bill, establishing Institute of Designers of Kenya, and for purposes of clarity, the bill shall be administered by Apex Council, which is what I call the management, which is called the governing council. So there shall be a governing council of the Institute of Designers of Kenya. And the becoming of the Institute of Designers of Kenya is because of the Designers Registration Act.
Okay, thank you for that. Dr. Lilac, in terms of what Christine has asked, would you want to weigh in on the issues of universities and examinations and certifications?
Thank you, Chair. The university, in terms of academic programs, from the historical perspective, we train, and our training is autonomous of professional registration. However, after the Constitution came into being, the Constitution has given powers to the professional bodies and associations who are stakeholders in the training to impact or to collaborate with the training institutions. So we recognize professional associations and take their advice, but we are autonomous. That's why not all architects are registered with the AAK.
Thank you. I would also weigh into that and give you a definition of a clause that is being proposed. That, and I would like to connect what Dr. said and Christine. And this is something that whether you feel it is in order to include it, that there is established Design Proficiency Examination Center at a government institution, subsequently gazetted by the Cabinet Secretary for such purposes in accordance with this section. 2, the institution in subsection 1 shall not include those established or accredited under TVETA or Universities Act, or such institutions approved and accredited by the Council. 3, the center shall administer professional examinations required for professional registration of designers. The center shall be administered by as follows. 1, the person so registered and sitting in the council as the representative of the universities under the section 6.1 shall be the chair of that ad hoc committee. The second person being the chairperson of the institution. 3 being the institution chief executive officer, and 3 other persons that may be appointed by various chapters. What does that mean? The proficiency of exams that Christine was alluding to, in terms of tests of competencies and how it is going to be administered, was and is being proposed by other quarters that we establish design for proficiency examination center in a given institution, but to avoid conflict of interest is that those institutions shall be excluded. Include those institutions that offer courses that leads to its professionals or its graduates being registered under the bill, meaning automatically, as you undertake this proposal, look at it that all our universities cannot be cannot pass the test to be our design proficiency examination center. Our universities in this case are the ones that are teaching design, or TVETA courses, TVETA institutions that teach a course that leads to design, meaning we have a neutral ground that the person in charge of or representing universities develops rules of the engagement in terms of professional examinations. And these are the centers that once the council has agreed into, moves forward and gazettes those and forwards those names to the cabinet secretary. The cabinet secretary, of course, will just gazette. He has no option. In fact, for information in terms of gazettement, mpaka Kiingereza ni nyinyi mnaandikaga. Everything, kazi yake tu ni kusign na kupeleka tu. So essentially, what does that mean? We'll be in a position to establish various design proficiency examination centers in the country based on our own strength, so that we don't need to have people come to Nairobi, if need be, to do the proficiency exams that Christine was talking about. So that is a proposal from my end and the team that was working to the team. I don't know whether there's sense in that kind of a proposal. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer, Ken. Another question that is coming in from one of our members. He wants to know if the institute is funded by the government.
Now, that is a very critical element in terms of financial provisions of the bill, because once the government funds a professional body, and I think you can attest to this, a professional regulatory body, its hands are even more into the regulatory body. The hands are quite tight in it. We have quite a number of professional bodies that government has vested a lot of interest in, one of it being engineering, others being the architects one, and others. But there are others that are not government funded, because the moment you fund, you become the owner of that fellow or that system. So the intention of the bill is to exclude government from funding it. And that is why we are just making our cabinet secretary a ceremonial leader in terms of stamping the authorities of our decisions. That is why we are also going further, electing rather than making the fellow appoint based on his own assumptions. So the procedures and processes that the bill allows or has created, we believe that once designers come on board, the fee that is raised from within its own operations are able to sustain the institution. So the moment government does not fund any system, be assured that it has no interference, as it was alluded to by one of the questions in terms of ganging up and the rest of. This has happened in quite a number of other professional bodies, some of them being the Institute of Certified Accountants, the lawyers, the Media Council, and you have seen a difference in terms of a professional body that government funds and government does not fund. So essentially, the intention of the bill, much as it is the case, is more of a self-regulated bill, so that the practitioners out there have more say. And that is why it also entails that at the management level, the private sector people are more than those in government, ensuring and providing checks and balance to ensure that it is more of industry sector driven. I think I've tried to answer that.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question that has come in is, why not regulate all designers in the practice rather than categorize the 6? What happens to the rest? Yet all of us are designers.
One of the qualifications of a profession, and I think I had discussions with various stakeholders on matters of determination of a profession, is what is taught in our universities and colleges. And I think in the annex of my presentation, as I was telling you, is that our professions come from what is taught in our universities. You don't create a profession from the streets. A profession is what is taught and what is delivered. And anything coming out of this bracket can be taken back to be part of what is taught in the universities. And I put to your attention that we have 17 various bachelor degree courses leading to the person becoming a designer in one or the other. It is within those 17 courses that you are sure you have a pool of designers. They range from Bachelor of Science in clothing, textile, fashion design, marketing, interior design, graphic design, communication, advertising. These are proven courses that are taught in our universities. So even if you undertake training, whichever nature, you will fall and you'll undertake and you realize that you fall in either of the 17. It is under the classification of the 17 that we have brought into the issue of the 2. So you'll fall in either of the category, excluding fashion design and textile. The rest will fall. Any course that is within the Bachelor of Science in clothing, textile, and related is excluded in the bill. But any other professional has a space within the 2. So that is the essence and the background, because the qualification of registration is not the practice, it is the education. So you'll say, for you to belong to this chapter, you must have a bachelor degree or diploma in something like that. So you must mention something. So that something is exactly what is bringing the issue of classification. And I also alluded to the issue of ISCO 08, which categorizes commercial designers and brings them into the 3 brackets or the 3 units that I had alluded to. So essentially you realize even within the graphic design, there are 6 subcategories under the International Labour Organization's classification model that classifies people, but you don't get the classifications of people and bring them on board as professionals. They belong to a professional that has been guided by the academic programs and by the ISCO 08 classification model, which are the internationally recognized models of classification of professionals. I think I was too technical in that question, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you for that. But you've answered the question.
Okay.
Let's continue. We are still, because this was meant to be an interactive session where we ask questions, where we give our comments. So any other person with a question? Let's give our questions, let's give our comments. Silence means what? Christine?
Silence means consent. Or the saying changed. Anyway, the part for, some of us have been in the field for quite a while. We understand the challenges. We have observed a number of things. It is just sad sometimes. When you've really studied this thing, you come out here and people are opening companies left, right, center, and they're not professionals. Yes, they are doing well. They're actually delivering. So this bill is supposed to protect and regulate the profession design. My story, when I left campus, I went to work in a certain company that was not owned by a designer, but a printer who had a design department. And the guy who was working there was good, but he had not seen the door of an institute, a design training institute, but he was good. Yeah, actually learned the technical bit, the software as a design through. He taught me. So such a guy left and opened his company, and is actually delivering these services, doing design and all that and all that. Now, I'm a professional. I'm doing the same, but then I'm registered under this Institute of Design. What are the benefits? How am I going to benefit more from the design industry than this guy? How are we going to push out this guy and make the money we're supposed to make as professionals? Like, how are we really going to enforce this? Because it's a mashed up field, trust me. You find people, someone wakes up in the morning because they own a machine, a printing machine, they register a design company, so they can give those services and do the printing and all that. So how are we going to make sure that the professional designer is benefiting and is in this field and is rolling and is running the show? That's where the
rubber meets the road, or the road meets
they meet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe members can come up with ideas, and also maybe, I don't know if it's in the bill, detailed. Yeah.
I think that's a valid question, and is a question that every other person, apart from just graphic designers, we have interior designers, we have product designers who are asking the same question. And that's why this particular bill is there. So my proposal is can be able to answer that question. Then apart from just Ken answering the question, we as designers, we can also be able now to come to propose ways of how this particular bill is supposed to protect us, because there's no point of going to the university for 4 years, coming to university, somebody was a school dropout in Form 2, but you are outside there in the market, is doing well, there's no legal laws that protect you as a professional. So how can you be able now to sort out this particular issue? So Ken can be able to answer if the bill provides for that particular issue. Then I'll request if members also what you can be able to propose so that is added on this particular bill to make it a more stronger environment.
To add on the question.
Yes, Mgazia.
To add on the question, I'm also looking at the bill is going to check and balances of standards. When we're talking about standards, and we have what Christine is talking about, like we have people who are not members but are practicing. So which rate of standards are we going to put the externals on? And again, can we make this bill capture all designers? Like all designers should follow this, and how?
Okay. Ken, are you there? Ken? Okay, before Ken comes in.
Ken is muted.
By who?
But he's muted. Okay, his mic is muted.
He can unmute himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think the second question that Mukasi has mentioned is that as far the bill is currently, Ken has just mentioned that within this particular bill, there are two main, there's a provision whereby the interior designers and the graphic designers are the key design disciplines in this bill, where all the other design fields, which he has mentioned, the 17 of them fall, apart from the fashion stroke textile designers. So it's under the design bill has to be domiciled under a certain ministry, because all these particular bills how to be implemented through the various ministries or other various CSS. And that's why this one is actually being domiciled under public works. And it just mentioned that the two critical disciplines is actually interior design and the graphic design, where all the other design are actually domiciled. So
He has left the meeting.
Okay,
He's not
so,
there.
yeah, so that's actually what the provision is at the moment. But having said that, what you can be able to do, because it is a draft bill and we need to give our proposals, we are here not just to listen, but also to give our proposal so that whatever proposals we make can be able now to be incorporated. One of the proposals somebody has mentioned is if all the designers can be incorporated in this particular bill. So is there any other proposal you can be able to make, any suggestions you can be able to make to this bill to make it workable? Let's all talk, hata kama ni kusema jambo. Let's make, we've heard what the bill is all about. We've had the provisions that are on the bill. We've had suggestions that have already come up. So do you have any other suggestions you can be able now to bring up so that they are included in the bill? Because as it is right now, it's still a draft and it is actually a process for it to sail through as law.
Hi.
Hi, Esther.
Esther. So I don't mind if it's a suggestion, but yes. I'm really concerned about people who might, as you said, who is a Form 2 dropout, but or is a Form 4 leaver, or someone went up to second year and they're not, they won't in some way qualify for this. And we all know design, honestly, like it's a lot more of skill. There's a lot you add on top of that, but there's the skill bit. So if there's someone who went up to second year, third year, didn't clear school, and they are very good at their craft, how do we include them in this and still control it? Because I saw part of the unprofessional conduct says one of the ways you'll be termed unprofessional if one enters into partnership with a person who does not hold a practicing certificate or secures any professional business through the services of such a person, or means not open to a designer. Is it possible to have people who are designers to be under a registered person, maybe, and then maybe have the work signed off under the registered person? Is that a possibility? Or, I don't know, like how can we involve such people in this and still control it? Because if we just go and say everyone has to meet certain qualifications, has to go to a certain institution, what would happen to these other people who are very good at their work, but they can't meet the needs? Also, another thing, this I think I would want maybe some clarity. There's the bit about soliciting for clients and advertising professional attainments or services, use of means not prescribed by the institute. Are there like laws that will govern how we advertise or market ourselves? How limited will we be? Like if you say I'm limited to a certain forum or a certain way of doing things, won't that limit people's exposure or clientele? Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that particular question. I'll weigh in on that, and I'll also invite Dr. to weigh in on that. On the element of practicing, and of course, definitely we'll be borrowing leaf. We will be borrowing leaf from our elder brothers, what they've done before. Because a typical example is an architect. If you're not registered as an architect, it means you can't professionally practice.
It means you're not an architect.
Which the fact of the matter is you are not, because one, you are not registered. Even if you graduated and you're not registered as an architect under Borax, you can't be able to practice. That's what Dr. was saying, that we have so many architects out there who are not registered, yet they have degrees. But the fact of the matter is they've not registered. The reason why they've not registered, it is well known to them. So the same case with designers, because the first thing is that you have to be qualified. And that's why if you look at even in terms of registration, when you are registering the designers are being registered under various categories. Are you at a graduate level or are you at a diploma level? So Dr. would you want to weigh in on that? Because there's an element whereby I'm very skillful, but I don't have a diploma or I don't have a degree. Can I be a member? Can I be able to register and practice? Dr.
Yeah. Chair, I think
Yes.
as you are explaining, and let me put it bluntly, not everybody who can build a house is an architect. And some of these people are very good and they build very good houses. So the issue for the designers is that the registered designers provide the trunk or the ownership of the profession. And that is very, very important. Secondly, the people who are skilled and working in the industries, they are being taken care of under the Kenya National Qualifications Authority. And their skills are being recognized under that authority. And they're being equated with the formal academic qualifications. So they are very well taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. for that. Ken, karibu sana. This particular question, how are this particular bill handled it? Ken? Seems you're having an issue with Ken. Karibu Karanja, karibu Samuel Kubi. I can see you just joined us. Karibu sana. We are continuing our discussion about the design bill, which we had a presentation on. And as we wait for Ken to tell us if this particular aspect has been provided for, do you have any other question?
Am I back now?
Yes, Ken. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Maybe one of the... Okay. Yes, Ken.
Yes, I did not get it clearly, but from what is coming out clearly is about the issue of those who don't have the qualifications in terms of what is required. I think that Terry has given it as I should have done it. Kenya National Qualification Authority as a framework that equates skills within a profession. And there's a process to that. And it is open to any form of a practitioner who feels that he has gotten the experience that to becoming that profession, or to becoming part of that professional. So it is also as black and white that, as Dr. has put it, let everyone do what you feel like. If you don't have the papers, of course, the universities and colleges are open. But away from that, the Kenya National Qualification Authority has a very clear framework on how you can equate your skills to papers. And there's a lot of process, and there's a procedure to you becoming a professional in Kenya. And I think I would challenge everyone to go through that process. And it is as easy as a 7-day, is a 7 process or thereabout, which I would actually encourage most of our designers, most of our creatives, because they have gotten that skills of the system in the universities and colleges to actually undertake as per the procedures of the KNQAF. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think that one has been clarified. Any other suggestion, any other comment? Geoffrey Karanja. Now that mmekataa kubeba mikono, I'll be calling people and forcing you to ask a question or comment. Okay, as we wait for Geoffrey Karanja, there's a question that has come in, and I'd like to read. Does the bill make it clear what craftsperson artisans designers do, i.e. certificates, diplomas, and degree graduate? I think this one has been answered. Huh? Then,
yes.
Then there's also another question that has been asked. and is about interior designers are having two bills. Why? Which is which? So I think he's referring to the built environment practitioners bill and the bill that you're discussing now. Ken, what is the separation here, or is it one thing, or?
I would like to mention something about the two bills. One of the bill is what brings the design profession on board as a group and as an entity of becoming member chapters to the commercial designers unit, or in this case, as per the classification of ISCSO. The other bill is on the issue of the built environment, which is a school of thought that is being fronted by several quarters, that professionals in the built environment needs to be appraised as a group, bringing together close to around 6 professionals altogether in various forums, including various policymakers whom are hesitant of or are in the process of coming up with a built environment bill. I've been appraised of one of the things. One is that built environment is a subsector of the construction industry. And like any other sector, be it health, be it agriculture and the rest, the diversity of professionals is always upheld by creating independent systems that support each of the professions. So when you have a regulatory system that curtails these professions into one grouping, there will be an equal fair share of representation and discussions around the growth of either of the three. The idea of having a legal framework is in order, but I would personally caution interior designers, I being one in terms of all that pertains to the qualifications, that the built environment bill, one, annuls the word designer in this case. Two, separates the principles of the International Standards Classification Organization, which has grouped in terms of our international labor relations, including our own Kenya standards classifications of occupations, in which is administered at the Ministry of Labor, categorizes designers as a pool and other professionals in their own pool. The principle behind the Built Environment Bill is to repeal Cap 525, which already has architects and quantity surveyors, to bring on board 3 others. So the bill is not a new generation. It is the bringing together or appeal or the repeal of the Built Environment profession. I mean, it's a repeal of the Architects and Quantity Surveyors Act, and then it is rebranded as Built Environment Bill. So it is upon interior designers who are in the industry to look at it in a holistic manner and make a decision. But for purposes of our presentation, because the design bill process and approval was granted on 9th May in 2014. That is when approval to develop design bill started. And at that time, as we are doing the design bill, the ministry also, the other professionals that sought approval from within the same ministry to be accredited, or rather to be given authority to develop bills. And one of it was Architects Bill, Project Management Bill, Landscape Architects Bill. We have copies of those kind of bills. And thereby, it is upon us to realize that our journey of the making of the design bill started off all way before the idea of the Built Environment Bill was conceptualized, and that it is upon us to pick forth and run with our own baby. If truly we are, then we seek a way of having the designers registration bill come on board. But nevertheless, if interior designers feel that Built Environment Bill is what they want, I think that should be communicated at the industry level to the ministry formally, so that the idea of the design bill is shelved. If that is the case, then the idea of the national design bill is also forwarded, or rather fronted, and currently the design bill is at there are two offices at Office of the AG. One is the drafting and the other one is at the legislation. It is at the legislation stage, whereby a communication that came to our ministry before Corona, mwezi wa pili hapo, stated that we need to provide any form of clarification or any form of documentation that goes alongside with the own bill. Meaning that already a goodwill has been provided for designers if they so wish to run with the design bill. Formally, the build environment bill has not been approved by the ministry to go to the next stages. So that now tells designers, or now puts designers in a way balance to take note of where they actually need to stand to. And actually, as a ministry, we're also looking forward, because we are the administrators of either graphic designers or interior designers in Kenya. We also need to have an industry position so that we're in a position to be well guided and understand where the industry feels needs to get the directions from. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. If I may weigh in on that, I happen to be party to all the two bills. The designers bill, which brings together all the designers, apart from the fashion and textile designers, and the built environment practitioners board. And I'd like to say that, having attended a few meetings of the BEP bill, the process is actually at an advanced stage. In fact, it's actually being looked as lawyers before it moves to the next stage. And as you said, the BEP bill is basically the restructuring of the borax. Because as it is at the moment that borax, what borax is doing is actually handling the architects and quantity surveyors. And the intention of that particular bill is to ensure that all the people who are involved in the construction industry are harmonized, because they all work together. And that's why it was thought that interior designers are better placed there. And that's why the meetings have been held and accepted as such. So it's basically a repeal of the borax, so that another bill can, that's why it's called the Built Environment Bill, to bring in the landscape architects, the interior designers, the QSs, the project managers, the engineers, and all that, so that we can be able now to have one pool where all the projects are handled from. And as you mentioned, this now brings in the question, if I am an interior designer, I'll be asking myself, where best do I fall? Do I go for the design bill, or do I go for the BEP bill? So assuming that the BEP bill goes through, the question is, what is the stake of interior designers in the design bill? Ken?
Yes, if to date, not even when the bill becomes in place, the Build Environment Professionals Bill, if to date the industry around interior designers, and I'm talking about this as a position of the ministry in charge of issues of interior design, that if we do feel that interior designers needs to run with design bill, then we withdraw our interest in Build Environment Bill, Build Environment Professional Bill. If we feel we have interest in design bill, we will withdraw our interest in Build Environment Professional Bill, because we cannot be in two ships at the same time, and thereby it also gives clarity of where and which directions we are in. So at the ministry level, we also want to take it back to the industry so that the interior designers communicate in principle which direction they seek. Because that being the case, if they feel so wish that the Build Environment Bill is the direction, then there is a lot of reorganization of the designers bill, including reorganizing the chapters. And of course, I don't think that there will be need for the chapters, and the whole document basically is taken back to square one. So if that is the case, then the ministry is looking forward, because that is what necessitated even part of the presentation of this bill to you people, so that as an industry, you also look at the quagmire that we have bestowed ourselves into and come up with a concrete solution on the way forward, which we are looking forward. The ministry has no direct intention on either of the two, because they will all be addressed back to the cabinet secretary, as I had alluded to. But I would feel, and I would give my personal view, that interior designers will have a more controlled point of view when they have their own design bill than when you have the built environment professional bill. I wish in detail, people would have looked at even the council of the reviewed management council for the built environment bill, and you look at whether you have representation around it and whether it is in a fair and square manner, including quite a number of other areas around the bill. So it is also about the interest. I don't want to have a case of directing my professionals to an area and then later on they'll come back calling and say that we feel shortchanged, we feel ABCD. Make a decision by reading the two bills and see whether professional interest of either of the group of designers is well captured. Thank you.
Thank you so
Chair,
much.
can I say something?
Yes,
Can I
yes,
say
Atari.
something?
Yes, Atari.
The interior designers, if you get out of the built environment bill, you're going to leave space for architects to continue practicing as interior designers. They will not allow you to do any work in the interiors of their structures. So the interior designers must stay in the built environment bill. However, I do not see any problem with them being in both places, so that you choose when you graduate as an interior designer and you want to work in the furniture only or in the artifact, then you register with the design bill. If you don't want, and if you want to go with the architects, then you go the other side and you do the professional exams for the same. So I don't think there's a very strong reason for you to choose either or. I see in Cape Town, there's landscapists, there is the design. There are about 8 organizations for interior designers, and they all function alongside. And you'll find one person belonging to multiple of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. for that. Having made my submission on that, and Ken and Dr. comments on that, I'd like to welcome a member here, an interior designer, who would want now to weigh in on that particular issue. Any interior designer on the wall? What is your feeling, personal feeling? Do you have any interior designer? We have the BEP bill, Built Environment and Practitioners bill, and you have the design bill.
Mr. Malaki.
Yes?
Yes. I'll come in once again.
Yes, sir.
You see, architects have been practicing interior design for a very good time, and Mateka knows that. We've been fighting that thing for the longest time possible. And if you join their trap and join the built environment bill, it means that we are all under one body, and they can do interior design as they've always been doing in a free way. Yes. And that's why I think that bill came after we had already done processes and procedures on these other bills. So that you are, Ken?
Yes.
So that to lure designers to the other side, but I think we stick with our design bill for us to be safe and to have a bargaining ground.
So you are saying that you are better safe in the design bill than in the BP bill?
Exactly.
Okay. One more interior designer before we bring in one more interior designer. Mike Moya.
Yes. Malaki, honestly, I'm confused. Actually, I'm the one who asked that question. So I will wait and see how it progresses. Thank you.
Thank you for your honesty. You're confused, but at the end of the day, the confusion will be dealt with. Any other interior designer? We don't want to wait. Yes, Dr.
Chair, I just want to ask this, because when I looked at the built environment, it has quantity surveyors, it has real estate managers, and it has planners as well. I think there are 2 associations of planners in there. And that does not mean that the quantity surveyors who are in there are actually practice the architects, and they are very clear on each individual's participation within the built environment. That's my, I don't know, that's my understanding.
Okay. Karibu Moseti. Ken, your last remark on that before we take another question. We have 20 minutes to go.
Yes. The build environment bill does not include engineers. If there's one profession that I would seek and wish that designers look at critically in terms of their way forward is the engineering industry. I mean, engineering profession. The becoming of the build environment bill does not in any form seek to amend the Engineering Act in Kenya. So much as they are build environment professionals, they have decided to stick with their own act so that they can be administered by their own act so that whatever is required of them at the building environment level, they will deliver that money. Two is that the ministry, the reorganization of a ministry really can also give a direction in terms of a professional movement. In one of the cases when we were coming up with department within the ministry, especially when the design department was being mooted at that time, was that there was a strong need by the systems that be at that time to have design be captured under the architectural department. That was something that we felt that once we are with them, we know what it takes, and we will not be in a position to even move to the next level. So that the idea of being autonomous as a profession also calls for you to also find a way that you can make sense when you are standalone. So the essence of the design bill was to empower designers stand alone and account to a government department that is formed for designers so that their issues can be addressed at that point. It will be hard to have the person in charge of design department and the person in charge of the architectural or even conserving department to be in one place and share the same sentiment, especially knowing very well. So the essence altogether is that it is upon designers, especially interior designers in this case, to make a decisive position and move forward and be in a position to direct which is the way forward for the best interest of their own interest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think the discussion will continue about BP and the design bill. It's interesting that there are divergent views here, but the purpose of this particular platform is try to break it down so that at the end of the day, we can be able to know which is the way forward. Any other question? Let's view from interior design. Any other question? Do you have product designers? Do you have illustrators? Do you have on these all that have a question about the bill? Amina Mohammed?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Amina.
I joined in quite late and I've been following up. I'm an interior designer myself. Graduated recently from college. There's so much that I've learned during this short period that I've been out here practicing. And with what I'm learning from this and the design bill at large is there is hope for us and there is hope for those who are coming after us. And thank you. Still listening for me to get more of this.
Thank you. Maureen? Maureen? Samuel Nkubi, as Maureen is preparing. Samuel Nkubi? Eric Kimanzi? Yes, Eric. Or Samuel, you are good to go? Yes, there's a problem there. Ruto, I'm trying to have members talk. Ruto G. Chadi Mutua. You there? Njoroge Anthony.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, good evening, Njoroge.
Yeah, I'm an interior designer at Public Works. So according to me, it doesn't have to be in a couple of associations. So definitely, virtue of the fact that there are different bills, if as long as it touches on a profession, then it is wise enough to join both, or those that actually govern the profession. Also, we had this discussion. Madeka has talked about it, about the academia and the industry, because yes, we're being guided by the academia on what the bill is supposed to govern. That is the interior design. According to the 17 bachelor courses that are there that lead to becoming a designer, we have textiles and fashion. We also have interior design. But then I raised the question of who is supposed to be governing who. Is it the industry, which needs the skills, that is supposed to be advising the academia on what they are supposed to be offering, or is it the academia which now guides the professions on what they are supposed to govern? Because now it's a way of who is who. According to me, I feel like it's the industry, because it's the one which needs the professions, needs the services that is supposed to be offered in that to govern the academia on what to offer. Well, that's a discussion that is going to move on. Probably it's at the time before the bill should come first, then the discussion to go on. Something else is, I feel like the industry is big enough for if one of us, even the ones we want to call the quacks, or the people who are not qualified. The only thing is that we have to establish ourselves in such a way that whatever we turn out as people who are practicing, to be of a higher level than those ones who have not studied. Because right now it feels like the professionals, or we who want to call ourselves professionals because we've studied, we tend to produce the same thing that guys out here who have not gone to school are producing. So that's why it feels like we have to fight for our space. I have been with architects, and there is the question of, do we actually know who we are? And I'm speaking this as an interior designer. Do we actually know of who we are, or do we just have this vague understanding of what an interior design is? Because once we understand our space, I don't think that is supposed to be that antagonism between we and the interior designers and the architects. And you see, I would actually support the built environment bill if it came through, because now we have a platform of discussing these and having a candid discussion. Because what we do is we avoid the conversation because we feel like there is kuna ule mwenye anaingilia mwingine, because the space is there, and then if it is projects, they are there. Just that we have to understand what we are offering, and they have to understand what they are offering. That's my take.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I decided to do a random pick to all of us, so that you can be able to have all of us participate. And because we are limited on time, I would like to hello, unless if there's any other question. Any question that needs clarification, or any proposal that you can be able to make, Christine?
Yeah, thank you for another chance. My question, the one I asked, Madeka was not in, I think alikuwa ametoka, was about and the benefits, the beneficiaries of this bill, the professionals. How are we going to enforce? I don't know. Is he listening? Is he on? How are we going to? Okay. How are the professionals going to benefit? Like the design, especially the graphic design is just a mess. That place is a mess. because we are people who have not seen. They are good, by the way. Some of them are very good, I must agree. But I'm a member of this Institute of Design. And then I'm paying an annual fee to be a member. I have to know my benefits. How are we going to enforce this? Yes, we're having the laws and the rules around it, but enforcement, making sure that this professional designer is ruling this field, is reigning. Yeah. So I don't know if we've already come up with that.
I think Ken can take on that and just take us in a minute the benefits of this BP, supporting this BP bill. Ken?
The BP ama ingine design bill.
No, not BP, the design bill.
Design
bill. Yes.
Especially graphics.
Yes, specifically about graphics, because the whole industry, the whole intention is to ensure there is some sanity in our own profession, which is technically lacking, and graphic design is the most affected. For information, if you look at the areas that I've said, in terms of the applicability of the law, is that any public entity, any international organization operating in Kenya, any NGO, and the rest, you realize that most of these institutions that require to ensure that they are in compliance with the law provides opportunities actually directly for our graphic designers. For your information, graphic design in public entities is more enshrined than any other form of designer in Kenya. You'll get graphic designers spread from ministries to departments. This directly creates opportunities that ensures that only those registered by the law gets and taps into that issue of employment and opportunities around that comes from the international communities, international organizations, NGOs, and the rest. So the 5 really provides an extreme opportunity for designers to be compared within the professional cadres in these institutions. And I can tell you for free that there's a lot of opportunity for designers, especially graphic designers around that. That is 1. 2, within provisions of the miscellaneous, the registrations and code of conduct and profession and issuance of certificates and disciplinary provisions around that, it has talked immensely on procurement of services of design. Yes. And it is specifically talking about opportunities that government has provided for that relate to design. And there are quite a number. I can tell you that there are various opportunities that lie between government institutions for designers, but they have been unable to undertake this because even the procurement officers, when they are enlisting qualifications for someone to undertake and secure those kind of jobs, we have no criteria of how to be rated and specifically enjoy the benefits that comes with those kind of works, including interior design work, including graphic design work. That's why you realize a lot of materials are being published by even government entities, all these institutions, including NGOs. It will be a requirement that consultancy services leading to any form of design that is registerable under law shall be administered by those who are registered by the law. So essentially, it's not that you'll spend your money being part of the design bill and then in under evil. This is not an association for your information. This is the law. And I'm sure if you have ever dealt with the law, the enforcement, apart from the disciplinary committees and the rest, remember the role of the police. The police role is very clear in any act that they are part of the law enforcement. So the law, in terms of enforcing it, as long as you have a legal notice, is something that you can be taken to court. You can also take the organization into court. This is unlike any association. So this is not members club. This is a serious business altogether for the benefit of our designers, so that we tap every opportunity that is within our boundaries, because the design industry is not just in Kenya, it is beyond. There's a provision on foreign registration in the bill, and it is very clear on opportunities that we need to enjoy when we're even out of the country, and also how we need to behave out of the country. And I can tell you for free, there is a lot that designers can enjoy upon now having this bill on board. So, and of course, there's a price for it. There's also a price for it, and the price is registration, professional registration altogether. But it's a good bill for designers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So, Ken.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's also the other question about the role of ADK and the role of DKS in as far this bill is concerned.
Yes. In terms of the professional associations, in this case, it's not just ADK, it's not just DKS, it's not IDA. It is the responsibility of professional bodies that require a regulatory framework. We have other associations world over that have agitated to have a legal framework for them. AK technically build Borax. IEK technically build EBK and others. So essentially now that we have IDAC, we have ADK, we have DKs and the rest, the essence and the principal need altogether is that they are steering towards ensuring that we have sanity in the industry, including membership, and that if you keenly look at the registration of designers bill of 2020 or 2019 thereabout, under the transitional clause, which I would have believed that you will have already read, because it is very clear, ensures that on commencement date, a name I'm reading on membership, on transitional provision, on commencement date, a designer whose name appears in the register book of an association, and in this case, association shall be professional association that promotes design practice in Kenya, shall ipso facto and automatically become members of the institute as below. So we'll transition ourselves from the position you are in DKS, in IDA, in ADK, and the rest, to the relevant chapters in the bill. So the sooner we enact this, the sooner you'll see transition of people moving from the associations to the new dispensation of the chapters and the chapters will be more empowered, because for your information, the chapter members are the people that will nominate the people to sit in the council. It will be administered by a 6-member executive council, which all the members will be elected. And there's a lot that the bill really talks about in terms of transitioning of our own designers from the existing systems. So what is the role of the association? The associations are tools that the institutions are developed from. So the associations, be it ADK, be it DKS, in terms of development of the design bill, have been given equal powers to do that. And I had a discussion with Malaki as the chair of the DKS in line with this. And there's a lot that I told him around our expectation as the ministry and the expectation of the professional bodies so that the bill goes through. And I think that's a discussion for another day. If I may have answered basically the framework of the question.
Hello, can I ask just one more?
Yes, Sarisi. 1 minute.
Ideally, what timelines are we looking at? When should we expect this to go through? Because we've heard about it for, I've heard about it for, now the 4th year. When ideally should we get this done with?
Before Ken answer that, because the ones chairing the bill, because of the element of time, Ken, you can be able now to put in your closing remarks in as far the discussion of the bill is concerned. Tell us the way forward in as far this bill is concerned. And I'm happy that Risi has mentioned the issue of the timelines. What are we looking at from today moving forward in terms of timelines, in terms of engagement, in terms of mobilization? What are we looking at? What is the way forward given this meeting that you just had? Maybe your closing remarks as you address that.
Yes, thank you for that. The relevant bills that we started off in 2014 were centered by His Excellency the President in 2018, assuming lobbying and the rest was done in accordance with the expectations of the professionals. That is 4 years. I better be sincere with you people so that you understand where we are coming from. So the bureaucracy process of the lawmaking is not something that is done very fast. But it is fast when, these are my closing remarks, when professionals make a position, get a clear position of themselves, and say this is a way forward. Because when you have a clarity of a way forward, the ministry is able to, in a manner that is organized, engage you and see how fast we can either resource mobilize or even trigger any other process that requires us, because we also need to have a political goodwill there are quite a number of other areas that we need to undertake. So the starting point, because the ministry has done its part by forwarding this copy of the bill to the office of the AG. Once the AG is done, it is going to take it to the cabinet as part of the agenda of the cabinet meeting, and the rest of the procedures follow. But as of to date, I'm not aware of the position of the interior designers in this case. So much as we may talk about the timelines, we may also want to shorten it further from the anticipated 3, 4, 2, 3 years to time that the professionals make a decision, because the ministry is not interested in either BEP or either design bill for your information. It is interested in the best interest of the professionals. If we feel this is the direction, then we need to take that position. And remember, the graphic designers need to take home that the sweet design bill for them is when it is tied up together with the interior designers. So they should also be interested parties in the making of the decision of which bill they need to forge forward. But essentially, as the architect behind the bill, I can give you a free hand that I believe that interior designers have been given the fair share of what they feel should be given, but I'm not trying to lobby for it. But if they feel, the better. Meaning, the sooner the industry relays this, the better for us to move to the corridors of what is required of us, so that we enact it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken, for those remarks. And Ken, we shall also be inviting you to the forum, because the IDAC Interior Design Association of Kenya, you're also going to have the forum to discuss the two bills. And Ken will also be inviting you to that particular forum so that you can also be able now to give your input. All of us are designers, and it's good for all of us to move together. So we'll be coming back to Ken in as far as the IDAC is concerned. Having said that, I want to bring in Dr. Lilac to give closing remarks. And as she gives her closing remarks, she can be able now to answer one question that our designers asked. Dr. I hope you are there. So there are two questions. Dr. will answer these questions as you give your closing remarks for the interest of time. Why should we have multiple associations instead of one strong design association, e.g. the architect and the engineers? Then it has always been my hope that we work together. However, this has been an uphill task for years. I have known this industry. So there's just one person calling for us working together. But Lilac, you can be able now to answer this particular question. Why multiple if we can be able to work together and pull together like architect and the engineers? Then one last question from Alexander is, as we try to streamline the industry market, can we bring on board young designers who have the will and urge for a brighter future? It's unfortunate the industry doesn't offer them much. So Dr. you can be able to handle this given your experience in design as you give the closing remarks. Then I'll make a statement before we finish our meeting. Dr.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Why should we have multiple associations? It is in response to the market. Market determines the specializations. For example, like I was alluding to earlier, within interior design, there's landscape, there is also furniture, and there's exhibition and display. So the market forces determine the clustering of the institutions. It also determines the cost. Joroge had asked earlier where academia should be informing industry or industry should be informing academia. The constitution is very clear. The constitution is very clear. The industry should be academia, and academia should be responsive to the industry. So they should work together very harmoniously. Ken, what worries me in this, not what worries me, but I take issue with the institute as it's not advising the government. And I think one of the most important the institute is government on how to consume design. So I think that is something that you might want to look at if it is covered among the objects of the institution. On the matter of the international classifications, I was looking at the Designers Act of South Africa, 195 of 19. And in that Design Act of South Africa, they only define design, then the designer. So they don't have graphic, they don't have interior, but they define aesthetic and functional design. So I'm not sure to what extent you want to go with the international classifications, which might not be reflecting the reality on the ground, and to what extent we can actually adapt from what other countries have done. A small question that we might want to pose with Ken also, and those of us who are here, does this institute mean that we cannot have another institute? Can we have another institute separate from this one? Or once this one is registered, it blocks off any other? Is it possible to have another institute of animation designers, for example?
Yes, it is.
And then the last and the most important one, Ken, that we've been looking at is the relationship between DKS and ADKE, because ADKE, having been in DESK and having been in DKS, and probably I'm now in ADKE and IDAC as well, I was seeing as if ADKE was trying to position itself above DKS so that the DKS becomes inferior to ADKE, so that the DKS would seek registration. In fact, even in your remarks, you seem to allude to the fact that the DKS members will become members of chapters. So you are saying that the designers who are here will either become members of graphic design chapter or interior design chapter, as opposed to IDAC or DKS or something like that. You are saying it's a discussion for another day. These are issues that we need to be clarified. We are together, we are all designers. Design is a relatively small. We have about just over 10,000 professionals in Kenya today. So we can still work together. And we want the bill through. We have walked all the way with you. So we would like to see that the bill sees the light of day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daktari.
Thank you so much, Daktari, for those closing remarks. Mine is just to now close and to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of us. We've been 20 of us on this particular platform in terms of trying to discuss matters that concerns the design bill. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you who have sacrificed here. And much thanks goes to Ken, with the architect and the steering person behind the bill. He has done good by taking us through the bill. Thank you so much, Ken, for having accepted to be one of us and to dissect matters that concern this particular bill. The discussion does not end on this platform. The discussion will be able to continue even after this particular platform. We have our WhatsApp wall, we have our website, we have our Facebook page. And if need be, we'll be able now to also have another discussion just for members to know how far we've gone with this particular bill. Because after today, there are, of course, Ken has taken note of the comments that have come in. He has also taken note of the questions that have been asked and the contentious issues. And I'm sure we'll be able to organize a meeting like this so that Ken can be able to tell us how far we are, especially when one of our members, Arisi, asked about the issue of the timelines. So thank you so much for all of you. And for those of us who are seeing there on the screen, those are basically our registration. If you want to register with DKA, those are the details that are there on your screen that has been shared. And until then, I just want to take this particular opportunity to wish you well from the Design Kenya Society. Wish you well, and please stay home and stay safe, and let's keep the design conversation going. Asanteni sana, and God bless you. So we can be able to exit our own pleasure and I can be able to remain with the DKS committee. The rest, we can exit at our own pleasure. Asanteni sana.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Let's exit so that I can remain with the committee members. Hey, guys.
Good job, Malaki.
How are you, Ni?
Tuko poa.
Daktari,
Confetti.
Daktari, are you still with us?
I'm with
She's here.
you.
Hakuna pali anaenda.
Stima yangu ilipotea.
I realized you disappeared.
The electricity went off completely.
Lakini karudi.
I got on my phone.
So guys, we can take maybe a couple of minutes because I don't want to tire as we've been here for the last 2 hours. We can take a couple of minutes, just give our comments on how the discussion was and our way forward. What are our thoughts about the discussion you've had?
Ni ngumu. And if interior design goes with the built environment, then we are saying that we are left with graphics or visual design. I'm not sure whether that is what is envisioned. I don't know.
To be sincere with you, interior design is much better placed in BEP than the design bill.
Otherwise, the architects will beat you to death.
You see, once you are there, they'll give us our space. But once you exit, now they'll be able to say, in fact, now within this conglomeration of all these professionals, these guys are wako. But the reason why we are there is to take our space. And the first thing is that they've recognized that interior design is a major stakeholder in the construction industry. That's why they invited us. So
in fact, the interior design functions lie in the built environment, and you'll not be able to operate unless you work with them. How will you do interior design if the architect doesn't give you plans?
And you see, and one of the things that and in fact, it has already started taking effect is that, in fact, when they are doing, let's say, the list of professionals on a certain project, interior designers are not mentioned. But I'm glad to mention that they now started mentioning that apart from architects, electrical engineers, mechanical, QSs, and all that, interior design are being actually mentioned.
Yeah.
When the bill goes through, it means each and every board that goes out there, it will have interior designers, which means those are job opportunities even for interior designers.
And you see, when you are in there, you'll also do exams under Borax. You remember we can do those exams. So you'll have certificates of practice.
Exactly. There's a certification number, there's a certificate for practice. And in fact, it will even make more interior designers to do the exam, join, so that now they can even work professional, and you can even charge professionally.
Mukitoka, you'll be told now you are Juakali, you are not part of the built environment.
You see, what I was trying to say is that we have already paid the 80,000. Kila mtu amelipa 80,000. So we already need. So hakuna kutoka hapo. The discussion at a higher stage. And that's why I was asking Ken. Because all these will actually go through the PS or the CS Ministry of Public Works. The question is, if the DEP bill goes there, then it meets the design bill, and in all those interior designers are there, it will even confuse the PS or the CS. So what will be the way forward? It means now delaying both bills and being told, you guys go back to the drawing board. So what happens in that kind of a situation? And that's now what Ken was actually meant to address.
But you see, when you look at the universities that are teaching interior design, apart from ours, all the others have got these funny names, and they have to streamline that training first for them to go with, I don't know, it's a catch-22. Those ones will not be accepted in BEB. It's only the Bachelor of Interior Design which BEB will take.
And is that it has already taken because it is part of the eight members that are on that committee. Anyway, apart from that, generally, how was that discussion? The way forward on that, did we meet our objective?
We did. Why did Ken cover his face?
I don't know.
I'm expecting a PowerPoint.
He was making reference to several documents. You know, when I'm making reference, you don't want people now to see you are reading. Yes, Subire.
She's still recording.
Yeah.
You are there listening very keenly. What are your thoughts?
There I was working. I think for a non-designer, I was left pale moya, I was confused. Like, okay. Sasa hii inaenda wapi? Inaendaje? But I liked the discussions, the engagement. I liked that the professionals were in the house for this one. I saw very few students.
Yeah.
So this becomes a benchmark of the kind of things that professionals want to discuss.
Yeah.
So I liked that we had more professionals in the house, and some of them were actually both in the house and on Facebook. Because when you mentioned Momanyi, was Momanyi here, Alexander?
Yes, he was here.
Because he was commenting on Facebook. Yeah. So, but I think it went well. On the whole, because we got people in the room, we got it discussed. I'm watching, we already have more likes on the page just by the discussion. So just the fact that we live stream, we have to keep live streaming everything we do. It's giving us great mileage.
Okay.
Yeah. The new guy, late, but he was able to join. Francis. Yeah, the one who paid.
Micah.
Yeah.
Mosaiti.
Yes.
Okay, at least he was here.
Yeah, and I also added him to the main group.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so at least he knows we are doing something.
Sione pesa yake imeenda tu hivyo, hajue kuna discussion.
Kabisa. But anyway, the discussions were not that bad. But I don't know. I don't know how maybe we need to do a write-up. Because the proposal that came in were that all designers should be registered through the bill. For those with non-education, they can register through their portfolio or the Kenya National Qualifiers, right? Then there was the interior to stick with the design bill, or take both, which now a challenge that maybe, I don't know how our members will ask us, are we going that way or this way? Anyway. And the issue of academia and registrations. So those are the things that I picked from our proposals.
Okay, Daktari?
I didn't hear the question. I wasn't paying attention.
we are just going through the overview of the discussions you've had.
Yeah.
What stood out, what we can be able now to work on, how the discussion was, and the way forward.
Well, the big there is nothing wrong with the whatever putting to place the institute and the council. The issue of sustainability is at the core, because the sustainability, when they say that the private sector will whatever and the government is appointing, it's a very precarious engagement. Secondly, the constitution is very clear. The professional associations should be, to the farthest extent, independent, unless they serve a specific whatever. So I don't think even now the government is actually sponsoring the engineers association, or the architects for that matter. So I'm not sure whether it will burden us, because even if I were to pay 5,000 shillings per year, how will the institute run?
Mm-hmm.
Sustainability. That is why it needs to be an advisory to the government. Then the government will pay for those advisory and consultancy services. Then we can look for a seat on KEPSA. We can look for a seat on CAM. We can look for a seat on EPC. We can look for a seat on Brand Kenya. And through those, we will get funding. So the sustainability of the institute is a bit of an issue.
Okay.
Mi hata sikuelewa vizuri, because it just feels so jumbled, like they're trying to collapse everybody and destroy any existing organization. So I'm a bit lost on that point, because if I heard wrong, he said everybody will send their members into chapters like Dr. mentioned, and then, so why are we in existence?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know how to think about them.
Wow. So this is just this was the first discussion on the design bill, and I think we need to have more discussions on the same. Right now, there are a few things that we picked from that particular discussion, especially Madeka's response, that one of collapsing the already existing associations.
Yeah.
So the question is, what is the effect of that? What will that translate to? And
unmute yourself, Malaki.
oh, sorry. The other thing that is still of contentious is BEP versus design bill, especially in as far as interior designers are concerned. That also needs to be addressed, because somebody wants to find out. You realize that guy from Public Works is an interior from Public Works, and he was saying he doesn't mind being in both bills.
Yeah.
Even after Madeka talked to them and given them a briefing on the bill, he still feels that there's no harm being in both of them. So there's a situation whereby some are for BEP, others are for the design bill, and others are for both of them. So these are actually now situations that needs to be addressed, so that now we don't confuse our members. Because as it is right now, it's quite confusing. And definitely at an individual level, somebody that atakuwa naona, where am I benefiting more? Because people will always go with that particular rider. Where am I being, where I'm seated? Am I benefiting more as compared to if I was seated in another entity? So that's also something that needs to be addressed. The issue that needs to be addressed is the issue of the funding. In as much as Madeka is saying that it's not going to be funded by the government, which means it needs to be funded by individuals or it needs to be funded by members. But these members that are going to fund it, Because when you're lobbying for this particular bill to sail through, these are millions and millions of shillings. So it's not being supported by government and is relying on members to support it. How are members going to support it? So that's another tricky issue. You might be able to have a good paper, but for the paper to move from point A to point B, there's need to have that, that goodwill, the funding, and the like. So that's still another issue.
Malaki, unmute.
So those are the issues. Those are the issues I picked from those two from the discussion, and I think the discussion should not end here. My thinking is, we also, given that you have interior designers on this platform, I'm thinking there is also a need to discuss the BEP bill. So you can be able to have another session. We discuss the BEP bill. Then from there, then you can be able to maybe draw conclusion. I don't know.
And then something that I picked up in the draft that you sent us, we had interior design, graphic design, and product. Now the product has been dropped. So I don't understand. Okay, he mentioned about the Industrial Property Act.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's another bill coming up.
No,
So
he's right on that. He's right on that one, because if you read the KIPI, it covers the registration of industrial products. And even in an earlier whatever, there is the Industrial Design Act 2001, which is in effect up to today, where you can register ideas. So the industrial design, I think, falls in that act, which is 2001, and we can make reference to it. It is available.
Okay.
So are you saying that industrial designers are covered?
Under the Industrial Design Act.
They are very covered in that act.
And fashion designers, where are they covered?
Who?
And fashion and textile designers, are they covered?
They are covered under the Fashion Council, which is running with the Ministry of Trade and Cooperatives. In fact, they have, as of today, I think Kenya Association of Manufacturers have offered them space, and they've already secured 500,000 to run an office there. So the Fashion Council is covered.
Which means industrial designers. So I'm assuming industrial designers, is this industrial stroke product?
Well, some people call it product, some people call it industrial.
So what are we left to do? We are left with
graphics.
So graphics. So if interior design go the BEP way, then it means graphic designers are the one left alone.
But you see, DKS was covering everybody to that extent and doing things. So this is about the institute and the examinations to be member of the institute, not at our mentorship level, not at our whatever level.
So at DKS level will be a toothless dog if we go that direction. We'll just be there to harbor members, encourage members, train members,
mentor them,
organize activities for members and the like, but you not have tooth to really bite.
But we can influence, and I think influence is a very powerful tool.
Exactly.
I like that.
And so far we are more effective than all of them.
Yeah. Right now, if anybody was to, I mean, if somebody can come and send us 6.5 just like that, it means that the value DKS offers is seen. Remember, we've been having the conversation of how to differentiate ourselves. This is it.
So I think from this discussion, what I cannot stand is one, dissolving DKS. That's
Yes.
that should remain. That can be taken to the bank. DKS is not going anywhere.
Yes.
I watch unless if somebody else will come in and dissolve it. But under my way, DKS is not going anywhere. In as much as the institutes will be formed, I think DKS we can re-strategize ourselves as the influencers in as far as the design discipline is concerned in the country.
Yep.
If we repackage ourselves that, then the other, because we can be able to have somebody's a member of DKS, but also at the fashion council level, you can be able to see those exams and whatever, be a member there. But as far as now the design community is concerned, he can still be a member.
Yeah.
It's just like I can still be a member even if I'm not the chair. I'll continue being a member of DKS, but if the BEP bill goes through, I'll also be a member there.
You'll get your certificate the other side.
Yes. And also you are saying like for the industrialists and the product designers, they can still be a member here and also be a member the other side. It's just like architects are first they are members of Architectural Association of Kenya before they go to Borac, sit exam, and they're certified.
Yes.
It's just like QSK are members of IQ when they're joining and when they're graduating. Then in terms of certification, they go to Borac. And I think as DKS, we strategize ourselves that way. We are members of DKS, but in terms of certification, if I'm an interior designer, I go to BEP. If I'm a product designer, I go to the industrialization or whatever. If I'm a fashion designer, I go to Fashion Design Council and stuff like that.
Correct.
Is that the way we should go? That's my feeling.
I think so. We move to influence instead of fighting for space, because everybody wants the space of we regulate. Let's move to influence. Let's be the ones who, when Paddy wants to come, they say, us guys work with DKS. If you're not working with DKS, we're not coming.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that we stop. I mean, there's only so much space within the Kenya, and everybody's fighting for the Kenyan space. Nobody is seeing the global space.
Yeah, very true.
Kila mtu anapigania 3 million or 30 million, but there's a billion out there. So if we position ourselves as the influencers, the people who can connect across board, we build networks with Paddy, with associations internally, then if you want something designed, the best place to sit, go to DKS. Because we'll bring Paddy on board, we'll bring Morocco on board, we'll bring, like that. We build a relationship with WDO everywhere. Correct. So then you build muscle by association with people bigger. So yeah, you want to do a thing in Mombasa, and then
we stay close to Nairobi Design Week.
Yes, we build with Nairobi Design like that. We build research machinani, so we become the hub of proper design research and global reach. We leave them to fight about membership and see what. That space is too small to put ourselves.
Let me give you a typical example. There's this trip I went to China, where I was in China for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I was actually in China representing Africa, and not just Kenya. And we did interviews online, where I registered online. Of course, it was paid for everything. I registered online. And we also did verbal interviews whereby I was called and asked a few questions. Whatever was actually, there was a question on that particular questionnaire if I was a member of a registered association in Kenya. And you can imagine by just mentioning that I'm a registered member of Design Kenya Society.
Finished.
Me a lot.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying, if you can be able to position DKS on that particular manner, you're not just looking at being village giants, because you can be a giant at this level, but now you're a dwarf, maybe on international scene.
Yes.
So what you're trying to say is we need not only to fight for the 3 million the government is giving us stipend, but think bigger, think global, think international, like the issue of Paddy. when party comes, we are a landing stage for them to come and do their thing.
Yes.
When there's another association coming, or we can also go there and now represent Kenya on as in regard to design Kenya society.
Yes.
So the element of being influencers in as far as the design field and the design agenda is concerned, I think comes out strong.
Yeah.
Mm.
So in as much as the bills are going on, these bills, you never know. They'll become law maybe in 10 years, in 4 years, in 6 years. It depends on so many parameters. So
Yeah.
as of now, as the design bill is being discussed, we need to reposition ourselves and strategically so that we can be able now to see how we can be able to influence our members, both professionals, the ones who are in academia, the students, and the like.
Yeah.
So, and then you see, you do things like we get international speakers, we hold Zoom meetings, closed Zoom meetings,
yes,
and members get a free pass.
Hey, you didn't
non-members pay X.
Sorry?
You didn't talk about my papers, NIDEC papers.
I did?
We'll send emails. I'll send emails to them. You didn't tell people it is time for them to deliver their papers. But they started coming in. I received one of the ones from West Africa.
You see?
That one I forgot. Mungeni chat kando. You nilisahau. Yeah, but by that one, we can just be able to do an email. But I think that's the way to go. Let's not get into the discussion of dissolving everything and having one central thing.
Wanaweza dissolve zao, sisi hatuta dissolve.
Yeah, I think if you look at our objectives, they are very clear. That it's what Lilac is saying. You know, let's take the advisor's position when it comes to government. Let's take advisor's position when it comes to design education. Let's look at the national issues of design. You know, I've always been telling chairs, you know, we should we should be having discussions about national issues about design.
Yeah.
Not specifically aimed at a certain area. Like we can go to Fashion Council, hold with them and talk on Mitumba, right?
Yeah.
We come to IDAC, we discuss sustainability or something like that. And we hold like forums or small talks about national issues. And then all these other things can be handled by the associations and what have you. That's how we become a mother figure.
Yeah.
That we can plug ourselves. You're like a motherboard. We can plug ourselves on any person on the national basis. Like what World Design Organization, if you look at their program, NISO Design Capital, unajua, Industrial Design Day and all that. So if we plug into such a system, we're able to move forward as DKS instead of fighting and following some of these things.
Yes, Mike.
Yeah, that's my approach.
Okay. Yeah. I think we are all operating on the same wavelength, or that the direction you are taking after having had this kind of a discussion and whatever discussions you've had before. Yes. I think that's the route to take, and we need to position ourselves and ask ourselves, in as much as that is the route you want to take, what is it that you can be able to do to propel us there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you are doing that you're not doing right that we can be able now to correct? What is it that you can be able to do to improve whatever good we are doing at the moment, even as we are looking towards moving forward? So I think if we have that kind of a discussion, then I think you are this bill, the discussion, I tell you, is going to be a rough. It's going to be a rough one, and it will take time. And at the same time, let's DKS, let's organize our house.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Then we have a position what we can be able to tell, because in as much as you're organizing our house, this house belongs to the members, and the members will want to know what is our dad and mom saying.
Mm-hmm.
So our dad and mom here is the committee. So as the executive committee, we need now to give a way forward, because when somebody calls in and asks about the design bill, we need now to have our position. Of course, at the moment, there are still things that are still jumbled up and down, but eventually, after having had these kind of discussions and more discussions to come, we can solidly take our position as DKS and say, this is what we feel. And we can advise our members accordingly. So,
correct.
Yeah, so I think I like us to end there, unless if there's any other thing. So what is the way forward? Are we having a meeting, or what is the next? Because it actually said that this we concentrate on NIDEC. I talked to Steve today.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even talk to Steve. He called me, and he asked me if I can be able to be a referee for one of the jobs he was applying for. I was waiting for him to say anything about DKS, and I told myself I'm not going even to remind him. So calling me, he didn't even mention anything about DKS.
Anatafuta unga.
So he told me that akona harusi kesho and is traveling, so he might not be able now to join in the meeting. So I decided intentionally not to ask about the assignment was given to do. And my thinking is, if you can be able to get other ways of getting that information.
Yes.
Because we've been waiting for him for the last 3 months. Not promising. So I think we need to move forward.
Yes.
So the next committee meeting we shall have, we can be able to set a date where we need to discuss issue that concerns NIDEC. And when can you suggest that meeting to be? The earlier it is, the better.
You know, we don't have time.
Yes.
And I'm tired.
You can't be tired.
Amechoka na kungoja. That's what she's saying.
No. Nimechoka kuthink.
Hata mimi nimechoka kuthink.
Right now, I know we've done like 2.5 hours, 3 hours. I'm sure people want to stretch beyond that. Can you suggest when you discuss NIDEC and PADI? I think evening meetings are better than afternoon meetings.
I don't know. You know, me had cleared my day until 6, so I'm free. When are people available? What evening?
Today is on Friday. Sunday night.
No.
Monday night.
I have a standing Sunday thing.
Monday night.
I think so.
Yeah, Monday is okay.
So I think we can schedule a meeting for Monday 9
p.m.
9 p.m. 1 hour, so that we have those two agenda. Is that okay, Dr.
Yes, that's okay.
Sawa. Anything else?
Can you set the agenda for Monday so that we know what we need?
Monday is basically to know how far we are with NIDEC based on the previous meeting we had. During the previous meeting, we had actually set some timelines and given tasks to some members. So we'll be reviewing that and stating the way forward as far as that is concerned. Because the critical person there was actually Wamboi and Steve. And Wamboi promised to work with Steve in as far as it was the budget is concerned, yeah?
It was the budget and the speakers and the job descriptions of speakers, whatever that means.
Maybe the easiest way, maybe you can repost that post, which was very on who was doing what. that we give them this weekend, so that by Monday they report to us. The issue of the abstracts, the issue of the speakers, the abstracts, the speakers, and how the entire thing of online will work, which was meant to be, that brief was meant to be given to us by Steve. So we'll need now to get a presentation on that, or some assignments that was given, and we check our way forward. Then also in that particular meeting, we'll be discussing about the party meeting that will be coming up. Harry and I will be able to give a brief on what it is and what is expected of us. And yeah, I think those are we just need to limit ourselves to those two in that 1 hour.
I think so.
Yeah.
The other thing we need to push is speakers for the next meetup. Eh?
Yeah, that can come as an AOB, because just mentioning the speakers and the contacting them, because the topic was set. Huh?
Topic is set.
Okay. So that will just be like an AOB, or maybe a pointer which can take less than 5 minutes. But the heavy matters is NIDEC and the PADI, which we need to discuss quite a number of it during the next meeting.
Right.
Cool. Mimi sina la ziada.
Hata mimi sina.
Daktari? Mike?
I'm okay.
Sawa, asanteni sana. Okay, thanks for hosting us. Asante Mike and Daktari for being there.
Karibu.
So we meet on Monday at 9.
Yeah.
Let the discussion continue on the wall.
So Malaki, you have an assignment here Saturday. Just
Yes,
remind me.
Yes, I know.
8 a.m.
You know me, I'm nosy. So your assignment ni nini sasa?
Yeah, chairman's challenge.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So that by the time we meet,
I have 2 assignments. There's chairman's challenge and the mission vision. Hizo stories zote za DKS.
Hizo zote ni zako.
Yes.
So uzifanye before me and Mike meet at 2.
AM or PM?
We're meeting at 2 p.m. on Saturday. You know, us guys are the workhorses. So after things are decided here, we go and we do the work plan. So we're doing next week's work plan at 2 p.m. on Saturday.
I like that.
As in kesho.
Sawa. I just need a few minutes and I'll work on it.
Sawa.
So, thank you so much, guys.
Karibu.
Asante.
Thank you, Chair, for hosting us.
Karibu.
Oi. Okay, are we done?
Ndio umeamuka?
Sasa uchokozi imeanza.
People are disappearing and you're coming.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't tell me you are starting another meeting.
I'm going to another one actually.
You know, this was my third one back to back, eh?
Yeah.
I have not left my desk since 7 a.m. It is well, Daktari Beast energized.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Okay.